Hi, it's Lee, and welcome to the Tesla Economist. Tesla has no downside for the entire 2023. Seems like a bold statement to make, but I didn't make it. I just inferred it. Now, as shareholders, this is good news. But what am I talking about? Firstly, there are always risks in investing. Anything can happen at any time, whether it's a war breaking out, recession, or a global pandemic. There can always be black swan events to throw you a curveball, or a force majeure, as Elon likes to say. Anyway, aside from such events, what am I talking about then? Well, look at the guidance for the year. 1.8 million vehicles, or potentially even 2 million, or even more if you suspect that Tesla is sandbagging, which a lot of the community have assumed. Even at 2 million for the year, Tesla pretty much already have enough cell supply for that. Well, we know for sure they have enough to produce around 440,000, as that was the Q4 production number, and that even included some downtime in Shanghai. So 450,000 is likely the average run rate for Q4, which equates to 1.8 million a year already. So even if they did need more cells to hit 2 million, then it would most likely have to come from a 4680 ramp. For 2 million, it would mean an additional 200,000 vehicles, or around an additional 15 gigawatt hours a year, which would mean Tesla need to produce over 4 times as many 4680s as the existing run rate, which probably involves tripling the current run rate each quarter. Is this possible? Well, Tesla have 4 lines in Texas, each with a 25 gigawatt hour a year capacity. So if they can start to get their first line up and running there, then it's a possibility. I don't think there are any other ways that Tesla can increase their production due to cell supply, unless perhaps Berlin does start to use BYD's blade batteries, which has been talked about. But really, I think it just comes down to 4680 production, and mainly at Texas, as the 4680 factory in Berlin doesn't look to be moving ahead with 4680 sales just yet. Of course, there is extra incentive in Texas due to the tax credits they receive and the subsidies. So my guess would be, if we are to see any growth this year, it would most likely be Texas ramping up with 4680 sales. And we're seeing a lot of demand for the Model Y in the US, so much so that Tesla have raised the prices twice since the initial price drops already. The Shanghai factories are already running at their new capacity, and likely don't have much more room to increase production there. Also, any additional LFP cells Tesla require would likely now go into energy, which is potentially just as profitable per kilowatt hour, or possibly even more profitable, since Tesla have now lowered the margins on vehicles due to the price cuts. But basically, the guidance has been given for 1.8 million vehicles produced this year, and as in 2022, Tesla produced 1.37 million, that would be an increase of just 31%. Now, we pretty much have been told growth should be at 50% year over year on average, but this year we only have 31% priced into the stock, which means there's not much to lose here, and we're saying that Tesla are already at that run rate. But 440,000 was the total produced for Q4. The run rate towards the end of the quarter was actually higher due to further ramping throughout. Actually, it sounds like Tesla are probably closer to around 85,000 units a month in Shanghai already, as they recently said they wanted to increase output a further 20,000 units a month from January, which was 66,000. That would mean Shanghai alone is at 1 million a year. Then Fremont seems fairly consistent at around 600,000. The other 2 factories are around 3,500 a week currently, which comes to 360,000 a year combined. When you add all those up, we potentially have about 1.96 million already, which I think is an accurate cross-section of where the current run rate lies. In other words, there's very little pressure on Tesla this year to hit any production increase, or in other words, even a 4680 ramp. From here, I would say any such production increase would really have to result from 4680 sales. Elon even said on the earnings call that the 4680 sales won't even ramp up until 2024 either. This buys them the whole year until they have to show any significant progress with the 4680 cell production. Elon also mentioned on Q4 that the Cybertruck will now not be in volume production until sometime in 2024. Previously on the annual shareholder meeting, Elon had said that volume production would be on the second half of this year, but this has now been pushed back. He says that production for the vehicle will start very slowly this year. We can see, however, that they are setting up the gigapresses on site, getting ready for the Cybertruck, and building out the production line. I mean, it is such a revolutionary new vehicle that it will likely take time to get ready and test the line. I mean, there's never been any vehicle remotely close to this built in history, so we can understand if it does take some time to get there. The Cybertruck has so many pre-orders that likely, in about any economic environment, demand will still be strong, and the way it's manufactured, then margins will likely still be high. There's still a lot of non-believers out there that Tesla can even produce a Cybertruck. Seeing this in production will squash that narrative and add more confidence into the company as to the other missions that are also hard for many to believe. Elon didn't give a time of the year that he thinks it will be in volume production, just said that it will be next year. I've said in the past that when that vehicle is in volume production, that it will be a major pivotal point for the company and take it to the next level, especially accompanied by the necessary 4680 ramp to achieve it. Likely around a run rate of 25 gigawatt hours a year of 4680 cells would be enough cells for volume production for the Cybertruck, or around that. The 4680 cells would need to have improved in chemistry somewhat by then too. They'll need to have silicon in the anode to get the necessary energy density. Possibly even removing cobalt from the cathode. If we can see 4680s without cobalt and silicon in high volume production, then that's a very good sign for this company. I know everyone hopes or thinks that the quad motor version will be the first version released, because it will be the most expensive, and thus has the highest profit margin, and the fact that demand is so high, those willing to pay that much more to have one of first Cybertrucks will mean there'll be plenty of demand for it. But my personal belief is the model release will have more to do with supply than it will demand. As in, there won't be enough cells that are energy dense enough to release a quad motor version. The tri-motor version was meant to have over 500 miles of range. Therefore, we might expect a similar range from the quad motor. However, this would require a lot of cells with a high energy density. If Tesla are able to reach that level of energy density, then I think it will take some time still. If they're able to include silicon in the anode in Texas, then I believe they should be able to achieve perhaps a 300-mile range with a battery pack somewhere around 100 to 120 kilowatt hours, depending on the weight of the Cybertruck, which would be suitable for the dual motor version. Therefore, this is the variant I expect first for the Cybertruck. So just to reiterate, basically Tesla do not really need to increase any production this year or show many breakthroughs, and the market has accepted that. In fact, the market has rallied on that news. On top of that, there is the whole year for Tesla to make new announcements to further add to the momentum of the stock price. And there's a lot of good news on the way for Tesla, as far as announcements are concerned. It's sounding likely that Tesla will open a new factory in Mexico, near Mexico City. This actually makes sense. Tesla need to get costs down lower and lower. They can build vehicles and products lower in Mexico due to lower costs of labour. However, the Inflation Reduction Act covers all of North America. Mexico is also very close to the US market, so shipping to customers from there will be about the same cost as from the US. What this factory will build, we will have to only wait and see, but it's highly possible it might be a lower cost Tesla on the new platform, or perhaps a robotaxi. And we have Investor Day meeting too, and it sounds like there are potentially going to be some surprises in there, with new product announcements. Therefore, as far as Tesla's activities for the year, there's only really upside. As for the stock, well, right now the entire market is at the mercy of the macros, and within that realm, anything can occur. Thanks for listening. Please hit the thumbs up and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter and talk to me on Patreon.